alhamdulillah, and today our session is about the world of the jinn. And I know that this session is going to have a lot of questions, so we want to make sure that we accommodate time for everybody's questions as well. But Sheikh Walid, of course, has taught on this topic for many years. Sheikh Kamal has taught on this topic for many years, so we're looking forward to hearing some beautiful insights on the world of the jinn. But I wanted to begin, Sheikh, just with this word itself, jinn. It's a very interesting word. It has a lot of commonalities with different words in the Arabic language as well. What does it mean?
Jannah, يعني istatara, it means something concealed. So something you don't see. Okay, and that's what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said about al-jinn. قال إنه يراكم هو وقبيله من حيث لا ترونهم. They see you from a position where you cannot see them. You know, occasionally people can see the jinn, you know, but the norm, the default rules that we don't see the jinn. They are with us, but we can't see them with our eyes, in this dunya at least, and in their original form. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala concealed them. He made it not possible for us to see it. It's like angels are also concealed. We can't see them. And I guess it makes perfect sense.
How so?
Yeah, you can imagine if I see all the jinn in the masjid right now. You know, how terrifying this will be, or how distracting. How would you drive on the highway and you see the jinn all over the place when you're driving? How would you go to the bathroom? How would you eat? Oh, okay. You know, it just once I was teaching in Toronto, okay, and jinn can come to you while you're when you're awake, and
okay.
Sometimes they come to you in your dream too. So, but I'm pretty sure I was not asleep. But even if it's sleep, it's still the story check. So I was in Toronto teaching Al-Aqidah Al-Wasitiyya, I remember, by Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah. Okay, and while I'm sleeping, you know, I felt like something waking me up. So I wake up and I see that thing, like, it looks like a woman sitting on on my bed. And I was like, am I asleep? Am I awake? Is this dream? But sometimes even when you dream, you ask yourself, am I asleep? You know what I'm talking about? But I'm pretty sure, like, I got my Bismillah and stuff like that. Then I said, A'udhu billahi minash rajim. Who are you? Or something like that. They said, don't teach this in our city. And just went away.
Al-Aqidah Al-Wasitiyya.
Yeah. It just looks like Ash'ari jinn or something like that. Like some, you know, Mu'tazili jinn. You know, but, you know, sometimes they come to you in a form. They send you messages. Yeah, they come to you in a form, like where you can see them. But in any way...
I've heard, Sheikh, by the way, that they come, that period that you just described between being asleep and being awake, like in that moment, that's a lot of times is when jinn appear.
I don't know, there's no proof for that, but that shows you also can be a lot of imaginations of people's brain work on them and make them see things which is not true, or really imagine that. But the jinn comes to us in our dreams, and they come to us in our real reality. So we see them in two forms, like you see them while you're sleeping in your dream, and you see them also while you're awake sometimes. But do you see them in their original form? There is a debate over that between the scholars. Majority said you cannot see them ever in their original form. Some said no, very rarely you can. But the whole point of jinn is that also jinn something means fast, usually concealed, and it gives you the thing that's it's very quickly, very fast. But al-jinn is not all of them, by the way, fast. This idea that all jinn could have crazy fast, that's not true. Because the Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said some jinn are crawler. They crawl, like they
crawl, yeah.
Crawl, they're not fast, you know. Some of them fly, some of them walk, so they are in the different abilities.
So one of the things Sheikh Ammar and I were talking about, one of our goals was that the audience doesn't leave scared. So I don't want these, especially now I got a lot of young folks here. Now they're going to wake up and check the edge of their bed every night. Like,
you should.
The single brothers are going to check for different reasons, and then little kids are going to check for other reasons. But it's rare, isn't it?
Yeah, it is very, 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 very rare.
It doesn't sound rare when you talk to the Muslim community. Everyone seems like they have a jinn story, or they're afraid of some sort of sihr, or something of that nature, or they're afraid of being. We got into what's it called? What's the word when a person is possessed? It seems like a lot of people think that that's what they're experiencing whenever they have that type of an issue in their family.
Yeah, there's a lot of like anything that people don't see. There's a lot of like imagination, and like curiosity about it, and a lot of like made-up stories and stuff like that. But hopefully, in this setting, we can clarify some of these things.
Okay. So, Sheikh Umar, why shouldn't people be afraid of the jinn?
Because they're actually afraid of you. They're afraid of you. A lot of them are actually, tiny, small like this. You're a giant next to them. And
so it's like a person who's afraid of a mouse.
I guess so.
You're afraid of them, but they're actually afraid of you.
Yeah, the mouse is completely terrified of you, and there's no reason to be afraid of it. Cockroach is different. The point is that they're tiny, they're scared of you, but when they see fear from you, then they start to scare you. You know the verse in Surah Al-Jinn, وَأَنَّهُ كَانَ رِجَالٌ مِّنَ الْإِنسِ يَعُوذُونَ بِرِجَالٍ مِّنَ الْجِنِّ فَزَادُوهُمْ رَهَقًا. Some of the Mufassirin mentioned that story of how before a man would be traveling through the desert, and then when he wants to camp in a valley, he would seek the protection of the leader of the jinn of that valley. He will say, أعوذ بسيد هذا الوادي من سفهاء قومه, like from the others in his tribe, but these are under his control or leadership. So then, when they saw that people were afraid of them, they start to scare them more. If you're not afraid of them, they leave you alone. If you're scared of them, and the example I use are little dogs, toy breeds, what they call toy, small breeds. Another word for them in America, we refer to them as ankle biters. Why are they called ankle biters? Have you ever met anyone who was bitten by a chihuahua here in his shin? Never. They only bite your ankle because they only become emboldened and brave when you run away from them. How many times have you been at a park, this dog came at you, small dog, came barking, but you stood your ground, the dog stopped and turned around. But if you run, what happens? It runs after you and it nips you right in the ankle. So the jinn are the same way. You're afraid of them, then suddenly you start to see shadows move against the wall and you're frightened. If you're not afraid of them, I had some encounters with them, and I would just tell them, if you don't get out of here, I would threaten them and stuff like that. They're like, oh, this guy's not afraid, and then they go away. So just threaten them.
Yeah, I 100%. I know that also for sure, that from looking into the textual evidence and from people in reality, those who have a very strong personality, very hard for the jinn to possess them, to hurt them. Those who are terrified. That's why jinn always try to attack humans when they are weak, in a moment of weakness. And maybe that's why some of it, when you sleep, not sleep, any moment of weakness. But when you're strong, you don't get scared of them. They have their own world. You have your own world. You don't need to worry about them.
So you got to give us.
Hassan al-Basri once saw someone about to enter to a dark alley.
Aywa.
Then Hassan al-Basri the kid was scared. Hassan al-Basri told him, I'll tell you something. They're more scared of you than you scared of them. So if you go to the attic in the dark and stuff like that, don't worry. They are scared of you. They just don't want to mess with you. I can guarantee you that jinn just want to stay away from you as much as they can.
You mentioned a number of experiences with the jinn. You got to give us at least one.
They're not great stories. I think Sheikh Walid is known for his jinn stories. I knew a sheikh who had his own jinn stories. He met Sheikh Walid, this is like 15 years ago. He met Sheikh Walid somewhere. He came back to me. He's like, I was terrified from Sheikh Walid's stories. So if I tell you a story, it's not going to mean anything.
No, they are.
And nothing. Just
okay, so do you have a story?
No, I'm just saying don't be scared of them, that's all.
Okay.
Type Sheikh, before we go forward, there is people don't believe in jinn.
I mean, It's unanimous consensus of the scholars that you have to believe in the jinn. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions the jinn in the Quran. قُلْ أُوحِيَ إِلَيَّ أَنَّهُ اسْتَمَعَ نَفَرٌ مِنَ الْجِنِّ فَقَالُوا إِنَّا سَمِعْنَا قُرْآنًا عَجَبًا. So that's established. Is it not by consensus, Sheikh?
It is, 100%.
So if a person disbelieves in the jinn, then they've disbelieved in the Quran.
The ulama rahimahullah agreed that anyone don't believe in the existence of jinn is not a Muslim. Period. Is not a Muslim. Because you deny something that is clearly stated in jinn. But there might be a debate between in the Islamic, among Muslims, but not among Sunni. I'll make sure you understand that. Among Muslims, but not among Sunni. There is no one from Ahl Sunnah said what I'm about to say. Only innovators, only misguided groups and sects said what I'm about to say, which is and denying this will not be considered kufr, but it will be considered bid'ah and just false belief, which is they deny that al-jinn possess human beings. That's never exist in a statement or opinion by any one of the Muslim scholars, Sunni scholars. But it was only an idea came by some of the Mu'tazila and the Jahmiyyah and stuff like that. They came up with this idea. But none in the Sunni circle ever, as far as I know, a scholar ever said that. And even if happened to be somebody said that, it will be the influence of that school of thought on them. But this issue does not make the person not Muslim because it's not as explicit as the mention of jinn. Some people try to say, oh, there is jinn, but jinn are viruses, bacteria, cancer.
So they made them a metaphor for something.
They made them metaphor. And there is some people said that. So this is, we don't deny the jinn, but we deny the fact that they are creatures like this. So is that means shaitan was a virus? Does that mean shaitan was, it's making no sense, but that's, believe it or not.
Corona is a tribe of jinn.
Yeah.
That's
not
stuff like that. It would make sense to me if those people would say that al-jinn has to do with spreading viruses, with spreading diseases, because there is some hadith mentioned something that al-jinn, the disbelievers among them, hates human, and they will do whatever they can to harm humans. And part of it is physically to harm the persons and cause sickness and diseases to the person.
So we don't interact with the jinn. They're in their own world. We're in our own world. Not to be afraid of them. How does a person protect themselves from the jinn? Or even before that, what are the reasons why people do get harmed by the jinn?
Okay. And even before that, if I could comment on what we were just saying about, what were we just saying? We were just talking about how
they said that the jinn is a metaphor for something else.
Yeah.
Viruses
So
or what
yes. So one time I was having a discussion with this guy. He was a speaker, and he just doesn't believe that the jinn can possess a human being, which is very, very, very rare. Let's get that out of the way. But
what, possession itself is
yeah,
very
jinn
rare?
possession.
Okay.
It's not like most of the time that it's bipolar. Most of the time it's something else. But we think everything is possession. It's very, very rare. So I was just asking him, like, you believe that they bring you nightmares, like the hadith says. So, okay, طيب, how does this other being, this jinni, come and put a bear in your mind? The nightmare is that the bear is chasing you, then you trip over a log, then you turn around and the bear goes like this, and then you wake up. طيب, that's a nightmare from the shaitan. How does he put a bear in a log and make you, how? So you have to acknowledge at some point that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave them some ability outside of yours, and that's why the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam described that they can, like they basically travel through the body like the blood flows in the veins. The fact that Allah gave them some kind of different ability that they can bring you dreams, like they can whisper to you. Like when shaitan whispers to you, does it sound like the shaitan? Do you feel different in Ramadan and outside of Ramadan? Meaning, Ramadan comes and the shayateen are changed. Okay, let's follow that opinion. And then you feel different and your head is clear and your thoughts are pure. And then when Eid comes, you hear something go, we're back. You feel and sound like the same person. So when the shaitan whispers something to you, do you hear something, a voice, or it sounds like your thought? He cast it into your thought, right? So they do have some abilities. So why is it far-fetched to assume that they can very, very rarely possess the individual. It's not far-fetched. It's not ridiculous to assume that.
So that's one of their abilities.
They have a logic. The Mu'tazila, and a long time ago, they said, because jinn made of fire and you are made of clay, that's why two elements cannot be inside each other, which is the most ridiculous argument, logic argument you can ever hear in your life. Because if they are made of fire, it doesn't mean that they are fire. If you are made of clay, you're not a clay. If they are made of fire, I wouldn't need any heater in this last week when it was so cold, because jinn with dust all the time, so they keep you warm if they're on fire. You know what I'm saying? They're made of fire, but they're not fire. That's number one. Two, who said that two different elements cannot be inside each other? Don't you have bacteria in your body and you have viruses in your body, and they are completely different
elements? You have a soul
elements
in your body.
Yeah, it's just that's just a very ridiculous type of argument.
But beyond possession, Sheikh, what are the powers of the jinn? What can they do?
Al-Jinn in general, when it comes to their interacting with human beings, their power is limited. And I want to show you how limited the jinn are and how weak the jinn are, which is help you not to ever be afraid of them. The Prophet ﷺ said, if you come inside the house and you say Bismillah and you close the door, no jinn, no matter how big he is, no matter how powerful he is, cannot ever open that door. And if you cover a food with saying Bismillah, no jinn ever can uncover that food. Just say Bismillah. Now, you say Bismillah and you lock the door and you put alarm and you lock it twice, and a human being comes and breaks in your house. Have no problem. That's right. But jinn cannot. Let's show you how a human being is so powerful. You know, they don't care. But jinn will not be able to do that. They are very limited. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made them in a way that, separate from humans. Also, one of the things that the jinn, as the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Alhamdulillah alladhi ja'ala, that Allah, Alhamdulillah, that Allah made the powerful thing that the jinn have is just whispering. Whispering, just to whisper to you, to scare you, just that's that. But nothing more than that. Sometimes, in a very, when things are cross the line, that's when the harm happens. They can harm the person physically, because they have this ability to run through the veins. And one of the things that we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala always to protect, not to be possessed with the jinn, not to be under the influence of sihr, where the sahir use the jinn to harm the person, or the ayn, the evil eye that involve the jinn in it. That's where it can harm the person physically, mentally. I've seen people, for example, for years that they've been harmed by the jinn and they cannot stand up. They literally paralyze them. And with the reading in the Qari, reading on them, and they were able to stand up and to walk normally after that. Inshallah. And also, when jinn harms somebody physically or mentally, you can reverse the impact, and this is an important point. You can reverse the impact of the jinn through physical treatment, medicine, physical therapy, because what they did, they made a form of disability. So basically what you do, you just redo what they done. So this can be done by the ruqya, but also can be done, and sometimes you need that medicine, and it's like this. Let's say, okay, there is chemical imbalance in the brain. Okay? What caused the imbalance in your brain? What caused that chemical imbalance in your brain? Doctors will not tell you, I don't know. Okay, what brought that virus to you? I don't know. I'm not saying it is, but I do have one of my options out there. Like I have 5 options. One of it could be the jinn. You see what I'm saying? So it doesn't matter what caused it, but I can reverse that, balance that chemical in your brain by taking the medication. Okay, that's fine. For me as a Muslim, as deal with the evidence and deal with science, I never been caught up in a corner where I have to choose. I can reconcile between both, in the end of the day. So that's important point, because sometimes when people get to me and tell me the shaitan, the jinn, the resh influence me. I always tell them, okay, do the ruqya, do the dua, do the adhkar, but also take medication, start exercising, start living your life, go to the gym. And then people go to the gym, I thought you're going to give me ruqya. Yes, I'm going to give you ruqya, but also you need to, you know what, to be active, to change your mood, to control the chemical imbalance that you have in your body that causing all this depression. So both works. And I do believe that the jinn have that influence on the person, negative impact on the person sometimes, and that's how you counter it.
So Sheikh, when you said weakness, right, that the jinn take advantage of weakness, so is it safe to say that the jinn take advantage of poor physical health and they take advantage of poor emotional and mental health?
I don't know about physical poor health, but definitely the second one.
Emotional and mental health.
Yeah, anyone have like weakness on their mentals and their emotional, like extreme love, they prey on people like that.
Sheikh, I want to get your opinion on something. I heard this general guideline from a sheikh many years ago. And he said if, let's say a couple, they're not able to have children. But there is a clear, when they get checked on everything, there's a clear physical problem. The woman, her ovaries, something like that. He said, then here we don't ever think of jinn. But then he said, if everything is physically okay, then you could say it might be a jinn.
It could be. That's why the adhkar, al-Quran and ruqya will benefit you, never harm you.
So it's a fair rule.
Yeah.
Sah? Okay, I like it.
I'll tell you.
Sheikh, we need one story.
Okay, I'll tell you a story. I was teaching in Birmingham. Or I was teaching in England. I forgot which city now.
It probably was Birmingham.
In the middle of I was talking or reading Quran, and in the middle of the class, this person screamed with a louder voice, "Stop reading!" Like different voice, like let's say as a girl, a voice of a man came out of this person, and heard took the chair and throw it, and people get terrified. Okay, and they told me before, by the way, this person obsessed with jinn, the community knows about it. So here they're so scared. So I was like teaching at the stage, and I said, "Okay, hold on. By the way, this is a paid class, and you didn't pay for it. She did, but you didn't."
The jinn.
It's jinn. So you need to pay for the class before I talk to you. Yeah.
That's great.
Not because I'm brave. What I'm trying to do, I'm trying to tell everybody in the class, just take it easy. I mean, what are they going to do? So what if they possess with jinn? I mean, jinn, at the end of the day, they are weak. They are not that strong. You know, I remember one time I was reading on someone who possessed with jinn, and he told me, the jinn, he said, "I will kill your brother." And he mentioned my younger brother. And that person that I'm reading on him, he doesn't know my brother, he doesn't know anything about my family, he doesn't know where I live, and the person's actually mentioned my brother's name, where he lives, where we at, what he's doing right now. So it really was a freaky thing, you know, for him to do that. Because I know that person, he doesn't know anything about me. 100%, I guarantee you that. Then I said, "No, you can't." He said, "No, I will." I said, "No, you can't." Because the Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam told us that Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala have made everything and all the decree. So Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala have written anything bad for my brother would happen. If nothing happened to my brother, you're not going to be able to do it. Then he said, "You're afraid of me." I said, "I'm not afraid of you." He said, "I will." He threatened me to take me some country. And I said, "Oh, actually, I would love to visit that country, but not with you." So, again, you have to hold yourself. For whatever reason, if you ever counter something like this, don't freak out. "Oh, I felt something moving." Okay, so what? Move on. And they are in the house, they are in your room, they are with you. I have a bad news for you, good news for you. They've been with you 24/7. There is every human being, there is a jinn with them. Every human being. So nothing new. You've been living how long now? 20, 30, 50, 15, 10 years. There is a jinn with you 24/7. Ya Rasulullah, even you? He said, even me. So the jinn with you all the time. They're not going to pay. There's one jinn with every human being. So as for the rest of the jinn, no, they're not. I hope not. They're not in your room or your house. They have their own places. Usually they live in abandoned places, far away from people, you know, in an area where people don't go there. Because they don't want to interact with humans.
Must be a lot of jinn in Texas then.
Space,
Yeah,
space. Mountains, holes, caves, bottom of the oceans, stuff like that. That's why when you go to abandoned places, abandoned houses, you always say Bismillah, A'udhu Billahi Minash Shaitanir Rajeem. Because if you say that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect you from them. You know, yes.